Good evening and welcome to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie. On this Easter Monday, the Bank Holiday Monday, we had fixtures across the country during different times today. Now, the dust has settled from Friday night, the chocolate has been eaten over the weekend, and we are back in action across the Premier and the First Divisions in the Men's League of Ireland. Firstly, we will go to the game at Head in the Game Park. Top of the table, Derry, of course, faltered in their charge for a first Premier Division title since the 96-97 season on Friday night. They were looking to get a couple of points tonight against Drogheda at Head in the Game Park. Watching for us was Con Sheehan.
Yeah, Diarmuid 1-1. It finishes in a noisy Head in the Game Park. I mentioned in the build-up to the game that Drogheda are very good at grinding out results, and that is exactly what happened here tonight. A very hard-fought 1-1 draw. It was actually the Drogs and the underdogs who started the brighter, though. Just 5 minutes in, they got a good chance through the returning Luke Heaney to the squad, whose shot tested Nathan Garrett's side low, but he was equal to it. Pushing on from that then as well, not only the early chance, but Drogheda actually pushed their defenders very high up the pitch and were very positive early on. Then after around 20 minutes, there was a period where the game became very scrappy. At the same time, they weren't really causing Drogheda too many problems, mainly James Akintunde with the occasional run in behind. That was kind of their main threat. But then on 30 minutes, they would take the lead through Joe Thompson, and to be fair, at the time they had started dominating the ball a bit. The ball fell kindly for Thompson in midfield, and he beat his man from the edge of the box. A brilliant low struck volley past Sam Long to give the league leaders the lead. 35 minutes in, then 5 minutes afterwards, it should have been 2-0 to Derry. James Akintunde with a miss from 2 yards out practically after Danny Lafferty's low ball into the box, but an absolute miraculous save from Sam Long, who somehow rose a hand and clawed it away. And this proved to be even more important then when 5 minutes later Ryan Brennan got on the end of a second ball after Derry failed to clear the corner, and he latched onto it with a glancing header and beat Nathan Garrett's side, and that was 1-1. In the second half then, it was absolutely all Derry, and Drogheda defended valiantly, and they had to, because Derry constantly pushed, constantly moving the ball around the edge of the box, probing for gaps, but they really just couldn't find that clear-cut chance. It got even more intense for Drogheda then with 15 to go when Higgins brought on a lot of quality off the bench. Jamie McGonigal, Brannon Kavanagh and Patrick McElhaney came on, and especially then that left side, it got really hard for Drogheda, but they just constantly got bodies in front of the ball and cleared. And then there was a series of corners kind of going towards stoppage time and in stoppage time that had everyone on the ground on the edge of their seat. One in particular where Patrick McElhaney rose up through a body of players and glanced a header onto the post, but Drogheda just kept finding a way to scramble the ball away, and to be fair, it was very commendable disciplined defending from them. So finished then 1-1 here in Head in the Game Park. Kevin Doherty, who celebrates his birthday today, will be very happy with another impressive draw. As for Derry and Rory Higgins, they'll be quite disappointed considering how much they dominated the game, and the fact that Shamrock Rovers won today in Tala against Dundalk, so they now sit 1 point behind the Candy Stripes, and that's how it finished up there.
Perfect, Con. Thank you for that report from Head in the Game Park. Now we will move down towards Shannon side, where Treaty United were in action. They were looking to make it 5 games unbeaten in the competition this evening. They were also taking on promotion, chasing Wexford, both teams locked in the promotion battle. Of course, Treaty United are, as before kickoff anyway, were occupying the final promotion spot in the division, while Wexford were looking to get a little bit of a momentum boost to try and overtake the Shannon Siders. With the report on Shannon side is Tom Clancy.
Good evening, Diarmuid, and yeah, it's finished here at the Marketsfield. Treaty United 2, Wexford FC 1. It is late drama here as Stephen Christopher nets a penalty in the 92nd minute following a foul on Willie Armshaw. That has given Treaty the valuable victory, and that came when Wexford were looking to win the game themselves, but Jack Brady caught a corner, punted it long. Willie Armshaw used his pace to get in behind. He was upended when attempting to take a shot, and up stepped Christopher to send the Wexford goalkeeper Moody the wrong way. But before all that, well, the Aaron Dobbs had brought Wexford level. They had trailed 1-0 at the interval quarter when Enda Kern had rifled Treaty ahead on 28 minutes. His ball thundering in off the underside of the bar despite two Wexford defenders on the line, and that gave Treaty what looked like to be all 3 points, as the game really didn't have the zip that it had in the early exchanges in the second half. But eventually Wexford, with a trio of substitutions, got a little bit of a foothold, got in on the game, and Aaron Dobbs powered home a header with 15 minutes to go, his third goal in as many games. But unfortunately for him, it was futile in the end, as Treaty United, they counter-attacked with real gusto and got the victory. So 3 wins on the trot for them now, 3 wins in their last 5 undefeated, and they stop a potential 3 draw streak, of course drawing away to Athlone with Stephen Christopher the hero last Friday evening. So a really positive outing, and then in the table now that brings Treaty up to 4th ahead of Waterford FC, their Munster rivals, and it pushes them 4 points clear of tonight's opponents, Wexford. So a really good evening for Tommy Barrett's side. Well, Wexford, meanwhile, their away woes continue, just 1 win on the road so far this season, and you'll have to go back to 2021 when they really struggled for away wins as well, only 3 victories in the entire season on the road in 2021 as well. So away day woes for them, but delight on Shannon's side for Treaty as they win out 2-1 here against Wexford FC.
Perfect, Tom. Thank you, of course, for that report from the Markets Field. Now, we had a mouth-watering tie at Tallaght Stadium this evening as Shamrock Rovers took on Dundalk. Shamrock Rovers looking to claw back Derry at the top of the table. Just 3 points separating the two teams before we went into the competition this evening, while Dundalk were, of course, trying to keep their momentum going as they look to try and maybe challenge for a European place this season. At Tallaght Stadium, reporting for us was Ciaran Callan.
Well, it looked like it could have been a frustrating evening for Shamrock Rovers this evening, but in the end, Danny Mandrew's solitary goal in the second half gave the 3 points to the home side, as Dundalk really huffed and puffed but couldn't blow that house down. Listen, this was a game which could have ended 0-0 draw, and you know, it could have spelled one of those nights where you could have said, oh, both sides rused missed chances. But in the fact of the end, Shamrock Rovers' experience and persistence in grinding out results is what proved to be the vital aspect of this game here this evening. Dundalk FC, for their credit, they played a very different kind of formation this evening. There was kind of a false 9 thing going on where they played 3 up front, but that nearly paid off dividends very early in the game, as Daniel Kelly latched onto a second ball from an in-swinging Keith Ward free kick. His effort cannoned off the crossbar. However, that was as best as it got for Dundalk for long periods of this game, where Shamrock Rovers really grew in ascendancy. For a long time, it was the Danny Mandrew versus Nathan Shepherd event, as he took chance after chance after chance taking on Shepherd's goal. However, nothing came to fruition. Just before half-time, it looked as if Dundalk FC could have taken a surprising shock early lead in this game. What happened was that a cross came in from Joe Adams, and then Greg Sloggett just left the ball, just lifted his leg, just left the ball, and that fell to Daniel Kelly right on the edge of the area. He took a shot, but Alan Manis was equal to it, and it was 0-0 at half-time. The second half, Shamrock Rovers started where they had left off, really pressing and really pushing forward, and it looked as if it was going to head to a 0-0 draw. But midway through the second half, a sublime pass from Jack Byrne split the Dundalk FC defence, and Danny Mandrew latched onto the loose ball and then just slotted it calmly underneath Shepherd to open the scoring. It was going to get from bad to worse for Dundalk FC, as Mark Connolly received a yellow card, but Brian Garland, who came back as captain this evening, got sent off for 2 yellow cards, one in the 69th and one in the 85th. A very frustrating evening for Stephen O'Donnell and his charges. They looked like they were going to could have snatched a winner here, but it didn't pay out, as Danny Mandrew and Shamrock Rovers' experience in the end paid off to grab the vital 3 points here in the Tallaght Stadium.
And a big thanks to Ciaran Callan, of course, for sending in that report from Tallaght Stadium. Now, Sligo Rovers haven't had the best of results over the last few weeks, taking just 2 points from a possible 15. They travelled this afternoon to Finn Park, where Finn Harps, of course, are in the relegation zone, looking to claw a couple of points out of it. If they could get 3 points today, it would mean a lot to them to try and remain in the division next season. Watching all of the action for us was Sean Comer.
It's full-time in the Northwest Derby, and Sligo Rovers have their first win in 5 games after beating Finn Harps 1-0 in Finn Park tonight. The bit of red started to apply pressure in the 20th minute when Mark Byrne and Paddy Kirk down the left-hand side gave David Colley a chance at goal. He was denied, however, by the foot of Mark McGinley. McGinley stepped up again a minute later when Colley was played through by Byrne. who was denied by the Harps keeper before the rebound of Max Mata was also saved by the Harps keeper. About 3 very good saves in a short span from McGinley. In the 25th minute, though, the pressure gave in. When Colley chipped it by McGinley, Donnelly came in to clear it, and his clearance came off O'Sullivan, giving Sligo the lead. This was a bit of a chippy affair. About 2 minutes later, Ari was booked for a very poor challenge, and this resulted in a triple booking with 2 Harps players and 1 Sligo player going into the book. And this was 3 of the 5 bookings in the first half, so there was definitely a bit of derby edge to this game. Potentially a worrying moment happened for Liam Buckley and co in around the hour mark when Max Mata did have to come off with an injury, so that of course will be assessed, and Liam Buckley and Sligo fans will be hoping that that's not too serious an injury. The last 15 minutes, Harps started to really apply pressure, which kind of felt like too little too late. Delaney stepped up in the heart of the Sligo defence, blocking a Boyle header from a corner, blocking Mark Rudden twice, before Alkin skied over all in the 75th minute. In the 80th minute, Hamilton looked like he could have gotten a very good goal for Sligo when he turned and shot on the edge of the area, but his curler was tipped wide by McGinley, who, despite the result, had an absolutely excellent game, I thought, for Harps tonight. In the 84th minute, Milivojevic got in from the right-hand side. He squared it across to Timlin, who could not take the effort on his right foot. He attempted to play with his left foot, and he tipped wide with the goal gaping. Really, and that proved to be the chance for Harps to get a point. Rudden met a header in the 90th minute, but he headed well wide. Ultimately, that Timlin miss proved to be costly. Sligo won't. The performance wasn't great, but Sligo won't care too much. At the end of the day, they have the win. It's their first win in 5, and they did it, managing to withstand a lot of late pressure in Finn Park.
And a big thanks to Sean Comer, of course, for sending in that report from the game between Sligo Rovers and Finn Harps. Now, moving on, bottom of the table, UCD are still chasing their first win of the season. They are definitely in need of points in order to stay up in the division for next season. They were taking on St. Patrick's Athletic, who've just one win in their last 5 games. Watching at the bowl for us was Matthew O'Donnell.
St. Pat's Athletic 2, UCD 1 here at the Bowl this evening. St. Pat's left it late thanks to a 90th minute winner through draw Redden to give the away side a much needed 3 points. The game, of little quality, spun into life after 70 minutes when Colin Whelan was on hand to tap in an effort from close range. Owen Doyle had a spot kick for the visitors' save 5 minutes later. However, Ben McCormick was on hand to control the ball and fired it into the bottom corner. In the 90th minute then, the game flipped on its head when a corner kick sent in from Pats was controlled by Joe Redden in the box and fired into the far corner from 3 yards out. For St. Pat's, they entertained Finn Harps on Friday evening, while for UCD, they travelled to Derry City in hope of their first league win of the new season.
Big thanks to Matthew for sending in the report from the bowl there. Now moving ahead, Shelbourne are still looking for their first home win of the season under Damien Duff. They snatched 3 points from Derry on Friday night, a big result for them so far this season. They welcomed their local rivals Bohemians to Talca Park. Bohemians are also around the mid-table mark, but 3 points for them could definitely mean a lot as well. Watching all of the action for us was Sean Crosbie.
Well, Damien Duff's search for his first home win as Shelbourne manager continues after Bohemians won 4-1 at Talca Park this afternoon. It was a very scrappy opening 10 minutes to the game. Really, the wet conditions at Talca Park didn't really allow for much football to be played whatsoever. But after just 13 minutes, it was Liam Burr who opened the scoring for the visitors. A lovely solo run from him, going through the centre of the Shelbourne defence, and his shot took a lucky deflection, really a huge deflection of a defender, and Brendan Clark could not reach the ball at all. So Bohemians took an early lead, but Shelbourne came back, the lead lasting just 5 minutes for Bohemians. It was Sean Boyd who got onto a Shane Farrell corner to head home for the hosts to make it 1-1. And after that, Shelbourne looked pretty good for the money, to be fair to them. They sat back and really frustrated Bohemians and forcing them to play, across their back line and to try and play longer, riskier passes. And then Shelbourne nearly snatched the lead just before the break. Adam Thomas with a close range header, but it was straight at James Talbot, a huge chance missed there. And from that, Bohemians went down the other end of the pitch, and it was Junior Ozokwe who won a penalty, getting in between Adam Thomas and the ball inside the Shelbourne box, and he was brought down by Thomas. So Dawson Devoy converted the penalty just before half time to put Bohemians 2-1 up at the break, and they started the second half at a blistering pace. After just 5 minutes, Bohemians had got their third. This time Adam Thomas was stripped of the ball by Ali Coote, who found Chris Twardek. Twardek showing lovely skill to cut inside, beat his man, and then slot the ball past Clark. And after that, then it was really Bohemians were the ones to sit back, and they allowed Shelbourne to try and come out and play a bit more, a change from Damien Duff's pragmatic approach, and it didn't really suit Shelbourne that well. They were constantly put under pressure by the pressing of the forwards, and they struggled to deal with it. And just after the hour mark, the final nail was put in the coffin by Bohemians. Liam Burt again, who was absolutely outstanding today on another solo run, going past 3 or 4 players. It would have been goal of the season, but his shot was saved by Clark. But it was Junior Odokwe who was waiting there in the box to tap in the rebound to make it 4-1. Despite this though, Shelbourne did have a few chances to come back into the game. Sean Boyd found himself free from a Farrell cross inside the 6-yard box, and he tried to toe poke it, but it just went wide. And then Jordan McAneff, a few minutes later, with 15 minutes to go, was also free in the 6-yard box for a header, completely unmarked, but he put it over the bar. So finished 4-1 to Bohemians, which is exactly what they need after a disappointing result on Friday night. And then it's the motivation that Keith Long will want heading into Friday's Dublin derby at home to Shamrock Rovers. As for Shelbourne, they travel to Dundalk next week, and they again will have to wait for another attempt at winning at home. So it finishes at Tolka Park, Shelbourne 1, Bohemians 4.
And a big thanks to Sean for sending in that report. That obviously concludes our report from the Premier Division. We'll move on, should I say, toward the First Division. Longford Town, of course, were continuing their charge up the top of the table. They were in action in Bray this afternoon, should I say, taking on Bray Wanderers at the Carlisle grounds. Bray Wanderers are unbeaten, of course, in their last 7 games. One of those games, should I say, was a win against Longford at Bishopsgate earlier on in the season. Watching at the Carlisle grounds for us was Deniese O'Flaherty.
It finished here at the Carlisle grounds. Bray Wanderers 1, Longford Town 2, and Darren Craven come back to haunt his former club as Longford Town snatch a dramatic winner over Bray Wanderers. Despite dominating early proceedings, the home side went behind in the 54th minute. Dean McMenemy's free kick met the head of Michael Barker, and he powerfully headed to the net. Bray drew level in the 83rd minute when Curtis Burns' corner fell to Rob Manley, and his effort got a deflection. Town stole all 3 points in the 3rd minute of stoppage time. Joe Power released Craven, and he shot low to the net. The home side started with a real purpose, and in the 5th minute a free from Callan Thompson at the head of Daniel Blackburn at the far post, but he directed his effort wide. 2 minutes later, and Darragh Livingston's header was just inches wide as the home side piled on the pressure. In the 22nd minute, Livingston had a shot that got a deflection, but Dennison was able to gather. The visitors struggled to get into the game and created a few half chances, but nothing to trouble Stephen McGuinness and the home goals. The home side had a great chance to break the deadlock in the 47th minute. Thompson with the cross to Darragh Lynch, but he put his effort over the bar from close range. Wanderers were made rue that missed chance because 7 minutes later the visitors took the lead through Barker. Keith Dalton had a shot minutes later, but Dennison made his comfortable save. And on 71 minutes, Waters put in a cross, but substitute Rob Manley directed his header just wide. Sam Verdon had a shot saved by McGuinness. The rebound fell to Eric Malloy, but he somehow missed it. It was actually easier to score. Bray were level on 83 minutes through that deflected Manley effort. The home side went in search of a late winner, and with most of the Bray players in the visitors' half, the Town broke deep in stoppage time, with Power setting up Craven to grab a late winner. Wanderers were reduced to 10 before the end when Paul Fox was red carded. It finished here at the Carlisle grounds. Bray Wanderers 1, Longford Town 2.
And thank you to Denise for sending in that report from the Carlisle grounds. Now, the bottom 2 teams in the division were in action as well this afternoon down on Leeside as Cove Ramblers welcomed bottom of the table at Load to Coleman Park. Cove looking to put a poor string of recent performances behind them, welcoming Athlone, who were definitely unlucky not to take 3 points from Treaty United on Friday. Luke Delaney brings you this report.
Full time at St Coleman's Park, and Cove Ramblers winning 3-2 against Athlone Town in what is a massive win for Darren Murphy's side. And it was a slow start to the game, and not many chances inside the first 45 minutes, but just on the cusp of half time, Jake Hegarty knocks the ball back into the path of Ben O'Brien Whitmarsh, who finished from close range to give Cove a 1-0 lead at the break. And then immediately from the restart, Athlone did hit back, and they equalised through Glenn McCauley, who latched onto a long ball from the back line. Then minutes later again, Cove retook the lead after Jake Hegarty went down inside the box and the referee pointed to the spot. Ben O'Brien Whitmarsh stood up yet again and lodged it into the bottom left corner. And from here, Cove really did step it up a bit and they dominated the majority of the second period. Conor Joynan striking again for the third goal midway through the second half. From here, Cove did dominate again, but it was on the very last moments that Athlone did strike back to make it 3-2. Stephen Duffy's effort was cleared off the line by Harley Mbeu, but Mbeu did use his hand and the referee pointed to the spot yet again. Stephen Kenny stood up and buried it into the back of the net, but it was a case of too little too late for Athlone Town, and it ends Cove Ramblers 3, Athlone Town 2.
And thanks to Luke Delaney, of course, for that report. Now, our final report from the First Division action is actually the day's first game, of course, kicking off at 2 o'clock. It was the Munster derby between Cork City and Waterford. Waterford are hosting them down at the RSC. Of course, they managed to take points from Cork earlier on in the season at Turner's Cross, but Cork were definitely trying to continue their charge at the top of the table to keep Galway at arm's length. Reporting on the game for us was Jack Joy.
Waterford won, Cork City 2 on the final whistle at the RSC. Ellie Gilchrist's second half goal, the difference between the sides, as Cork really shut down defensively after that goal and the Blues really struggled to break them down. The Waterford started brightly and Louis Britton came close with a headed effort. He hit the crossbar after getting on the end of an excellent Roland Ido cross. Ido was dangerous on the right flank in the early moments and he sent in two more quality balls. One was deflected out to Shane Griffin, whose shot was saved, and the other just couldn't find a Waterford player. Against the run of play, Cork scored with virtually their first attack. Matt Healy volleyed home from across from the left-hand side to put the visitors 1-0 up. A number of chances followed for Cork, and Rory Keating really should have done better with his effort. He went left and just wide, while Matt Serbley's shot had to be cleared off the line by Waterford's Eddie Nolan. The game became scrappy as the half went on and four players received bookings, and Waterford were really struggling to create any chances as the game had slowed down. However, when Yassine Ennea appeared to be taken out in the box, the Waterford crowd bayed for a penalty, although referee Gavin Colfer waved play on. Louis Britton had another chance following that, but his effort was saved by the Cork keeper David Harrington, and the sides went in for the break with Waterford trailing by a goal. The Blues, however, came out with pace in the second half and Phoenix Patterson really drove them forward. The Scot had two shots on goal that were unsuccessful but was rewarded with his third in the 58th minute when his was deflected into the right of the Cork net and he put his side level. However, Cork responded swiftly when 4 minutes later Ali Gilchrist, their own Scottish player, powered home a header from Matt Healy's corner and put his side 2-1 ahead. Waterford really struggled to break down Cork following that, and although Phoenix Patterson and Roland Ido sent in dangerous balls to the Cork area late on, the Cork defence were able to deal with it, and it ended Waterford 1, Cork 2 at the RSC as the visitors held on to take victory and they went 3 points clear at the top of the First Division.
A big thanks to Jack for that report. Now we'll just give a brief run through all of the results that took place today in both the Premier and the First Divisions. We will start, of course, with the Premier Division, where Shelbourne suffer another home defeat under Damien Duff 4-1. It finished there at Talca Park against their rivals in the form of Bohemians. UCD again suffering another home defeat. The season hasn't gone well for them. They're still chasing their first win of the season. 2-1 defeat to St. Patrick's Athletic. We'll take a look at the league table there in a couple of minutes. Finn Harps, of course, another defeat, this time coming to Sligo Rovers. Sligo Rovers getting a win, a much needed win. They've struggled in recent weeks with that. Shamrock Rovers getting a win over Dundalk, big result for them as it means that they can again challenge for the title, just a 1 point separating them between them and Derry, because of course Derry drawing with Drogheda in that one. We'll look at the First Division results as well. In that one, of course, we just had Jack's report there. Cork picking up a 2-1 win over Waterford in the Munster derby down at the RSC. Longford picking up a 2-1 win over Bray Wanderers, continuing their charge toward the top of the table. Of course, games in hand for them in that one. Treaty United, thanks to Stephen Christopher again, he being the late magician for them so far, 2-1 over Wexford, keeping them in the promotion places as it stands. And Cove Ramblers putting their recent rut to bed with a 3-2 win over Athlone at St. Coleman's Park. Was definitely a big result for them. That'll see them getting a bit of momentum going toward the end of the season. We'll look, of course, to the league tables, and we'll start with the Premier Division table, and it's definitely the top two battle that will capture the eyes this evening. Derry holding on by just a point, held, of course, at Head in the Game Park in that one. St. Patrick's Athletic are in third position thanks to that win. Of course, Dundalk slipping down at the table with the result today, and it's as you were at the bottom between UCD and Finn Harps. We'll look at the statistics coming from the division as well, starting, of course, with the top goal scorers, where Will Patching and Aidan Keena remain top with 5 goals apiece there, with Patrick Goodman, Jamie McGonigal and Graham Burke slowly chasing in on them. We'll look at the goalkeeping stats as well. Not many clean sheets going around the division today. Just a couple of clean sheets, but one of which is Alan Manis, who gets his 5th clean sheet of the season. He now joins Nathan Shepherd and Joseph Anang, of course, up there toward the top of that, while Ed McGinty gets a clean sheet as well. He now is on 3 for the season. And we'll look at the first division table as well from all the results. As Jack had mentioned, Cork City going 3 clear of Galway, but of course Galway do have that game in hand. Longford are, of course, up to 3rd. Waterford dropped down just to 4th. Waterford should be down in 5th. There's a slight error there with the league table. Of course, Treaty United should be a little bit higher up in the table in that one, but they, of course, will be delighted to be back in, or to remain, should I say, in the promotion places. And we'll look at the statistics coming from the league as well. His brace from Brendan O'Brien Whitmarsh has him topping the goal scoring charts with 6 for the season. And while Phoenix Patterson did manage to get a goal today, he's on 5. Not the result that his team would have wanted, but his goal sees him up to 5, while Enda Curran also managed to find the net today, and he is on 5 goals as well. And looking at the clean sheets, no clean sheet recorded today in the first division, as David Harrington remains the man to catch with 6 clean sheets so far this season, while Stephen McGuinness, Connor Kearns, Jack Brady and Luke Dennison are all chasing him in that one. Jack Brady could have had 4 clean sheets, but unfortunately Treaty couldn't hold out for that one. And we will look to the fixtures. We have fixtures back for you again this Friday night, but of course we will have games on Saturday's game in both of the divisions. Kickoff is 7:45 unless stated otherwise. In the Premier Division, St. Patrick's Athletic host Finn Harps. Dundalk welcome Shelbourne to Oriel Park. Derry City take on UCD at the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium. And it's a Dublin derby at Dalymount Park, where Bohemians take on Shamrock Rovers. And on Saturday, Sligo take on Drogheda United at the Showgrounds. And in the first division games as well, Wexford and Waterford are in that one. Galway take on Bray. Cove Ramblers entertain Cork in a Cork derby as well. Those games are on at Friday night, all at 7:45, while on Saturday, Longford welcome Treaty United to Bishopsgate at 7:30. Now, all of today's action, should I say, will be available on the Finalwhistle.ie website. All our league tables are there as well, and statistics that you can view for all your favourite players and your clubs as well as that. We'll be back to you on Wednesday with all our various podcasts as well, coming at 7, 8 and 9 o'clock respectively, while we'll be back for Around the Grounds, of course, on Friday evening. I hope you enjoyed tonight's programme as well as Friday's and had a great Easter weekend. Can't wait to be back to you again on Friday night, should I say, for another hectic round of fixtures in both the Premier and the First Division. And we will, of course, be back Saturday with Women's National League action as well. Hopefully you'll tune in to us then. Make sure to turn on your notifications on your social media channels to be notified of when we go live. But until we see each other again, have a lovely evening and goodbye.